And there were three key transformations that I see in my life. One is to shift away from investing in profit-driven company to purpose-driven company. Secondly is to shift away from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism. And the third point is actually, no matter what kind of business that we pursue, it has to be God's first. We always sing worship song, I surrender all. The problem is we surrender everything except our bank account, our property, and our assets. With God, you can touch anything except don't touch this thing.
Mason Tan, thank you for accepting our invitation.
My pleasure.
You are Director for Impact Investments at Providential Wealth Advisory in Singapore. You are a passionate advocate for business enterprises that tackle social injustice. Can you share with us a bit more about what you do and why is it important for you?
Thank you. So I started my social impact investing journey about 12 years ago after became a disillusioned banker. So in my previous life, I was working as a corporate finance person, helping big companies to raise more money. But in the end, I realized I'm only helping the rich to become richer. The poor remain unchanged. So during the 12 years ago, my solitude time, I've decided to switch from being a banker for the rich to become a banker for the poor. Because during my journey, I realized that God's heart is really for the poor, for the vulnerable. As I start to read the Bible regularly and meditate on the words, on the heartbeats of God, whatever breaks God's heart will also break my heart. So that become my pivoting point where I start to shift my focus, and there were three key transformations that I see in my life. One is to shift away from investing in profit-driven company to purpose-driven company. Secondly is to shift away from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism. And the third point is actually, instead of being a regular marketplace believer, go to church on Sunday, I want to be a follower of Jesus Christ Monday to Friday.
Amazing. Can you share with us a bit about the tension between the regular or the secular approach in business, where we are focused on growing, scaling, becoming profitable and increasing that profit, with the other side of social entrepreneurship? How is that tension working?
Okay. First of all, we all know Jesus' teaching is a paradigm shift thinking away from the secular world thinking. So it is very natural for disciples of Jesus Christ to experience tension. So tension will never go away because Jesus' teaching and the world's teaching are on the opposite side. So likewise, when we talk about risk and reward, there definitely will be tension because Jesus' teaching is focusing on human flourishing, whereas the world teaching is profit maximization. So it is natural to have that tension. The question is whether we as a stewards accept that tension or try to stick to the old world thinking of doing things. So I think if we want to call ourselves as a follower of Jesus Christ, we must follow Jesus' teaching. Some people ever ask me this question, Mason, why did you become such a fervent or radical disciple? I said, I am not radical. I am merely following what the Bible is teaching me to do. So you cannot say, I only follow 80% of the Bible and pretend to be a Christian. to be a Christian, a follower of Jesus Christ, you have to follow every single teaching in the Bible.
Do you find it hard to gain or to obtain the profit in a social entrepreneurial system versus the corporate or your old system, the system where you were before?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. So I think the key difference is, do we exercise patient capital? In a typical fund management perspective, investment perspective, people are expecting a return over 5 years. But for us, because we are a social impact investors, our investment period is 10 years. So it's really more of a managing expectations of the ROI. And there's a very important concept out there in the market where today current investment climate, people are always looking for the next unicorn, right? 20x, 50x kind of return. And for us, we believe in following the zebra valuation, which is maybe like 5x over 10 years. If you can do that well, instead of 20x over 5 years. So if you can have the right set of expectations up front, you will not be under so much pressure or stress. So I think the key difference between a unicorn valuation and a zebra valuation is this. For the zebra valuation, it is actually pursuing a stakeholder capitalism, meaning everyone in the company will benefit. Whereas the unicorn valuation, only the investors, the shareholders benefit from the rise in valuation. But more importantly is this, I think we need to realize that profit is not the only purpose when you invest in a business.
You mentioned something about risk and return in your presentation. Can you elaborate a bit about that for our audience?
Sure. So I mentioned earlier about risk and return because it is a equation that we all know: low risk, low return, high risk, high return, no risk, no return. Okay, this is a very simple mathematical equation. But to do impact investing, you need to have a broader view. Naturally, it is high risk because there's no proven track record of the business. But the financial return can be low. But I'd like to add, there is the intangible impact outcome and output that can be added to the financial return. And from a kingdom entrepreneur and kingdom investor perspective, don't forget, God also promised kingdom rewards when we get there.
That's an amazing perspective. Thank you. I will ask you a question that tries to look in the future. What do you think is the major challenge that our faith-based entrepreneurship ecosystem will have to face in the future? And what would be your advice, your opinion, something that could help this ecosystem of faith-based entrepreneurs to tackle this challenge?
Today, I think we are facing many challenges, which I describe under 3C. The first C is COVID-19 post-recovery. What we are witnessing is actually a K-shaped recovery, meaning the well-to-do are doing well, but those at the bottom of the pyramid, they're getting worse. So it is widening the income inequity. Number two, the second C is climate change. We are seeing how the climate change has affected the livelihood of the people, especially the poor. The third C is conflicts. We are seeing more and more regional conflicts is happening. So all these 3C add up does not seem to give us a lot of hope. But we are reminded our only source of hope is in Jesus Christ. Our only source of hope is in our eternal God, who is sovereign, who is almighty, and who is the creator of heaven and earth. God can create something out of nothing. So I think we need to keep our eyes focused on the eternal provider and the protector. The second part I'd like to highlight is to share is actually no matter what kind of business that we pursue, it has to be God's first. Meaning, is this God's will for you? Is this God's plan for you? You know, people will ask, how do I know? Well, God's answer always comes with peace, shalom. That you will know, you will feel his peace, even no matter what people say, oh, this is not good, I don't see a potential. But again, you are required to have a surrender spirit. You know, we always sing worship song, I surrender all. The problem is we surrender everything except our bank account, our property, and our assets. You say, God, you can touch anything except don't touch this thing. But God say, you are merely my steward. You don't own any of this. So if we have the correct posture, the spiritual posture, God will lead us through this journey, just as how God has led the Israelite through the Red Sea. And God is we're still the same God, serving the same God as who is the creator, who guide the Israelite through the Red Sea. And today he's still the same God.
So no reason to fear the future.
Nothing to fear the future, because we are only a pilgrims on this earth. Our future is in heaven.
Last question. Is this your first trip to Romania?
Yes, it is.
Could you share your spiritual perception of what you found here? I think that'll be precious for us to learn and to know.
Thank you. That is something that I have been praying and asked God what to share about the people here. And I think at the end of the day, it's about courage. Don't be afraid. I think, as I shared yesterday in the earlier session, wrong is wrong even when everybody is doing it. Right is right even when nobody is doing it. We all are accountable only to God, not to anyone else, because he is always waiting on the other side. If we know our journey is towards the kingdom, we should strive towards the kingdom. You know, before, just share a bit. 12 years ago, before I was born again, as a banker, I was trying to make everybody happy except God. In the way, I have compromised my faith. Since then, I only want to please God. Meaning, if my wife is not happy with my decision, I tell God to talk to her, not me.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
May
Thank you
God
for
bless
the
you.
privilege.